Hey YouTube, Calgunandprep here, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a Lee case length gauge that doesn't quite fit. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so a while back I did a video on my Trim It 2 case trimmer, powered case trimmer. I love that thing. It saves me a ton of time when I am doing bulk case prep. However, if I'm only going to sit down and do a few cases, you know, like 50 or less, it's actually a lot quicker just to use a manual case trimmer like the Lee Precision case length gauge, because the amount of time it takes to set up and get that Trim It 2 dialed in, I can run through about 50 cases by hand in that same amount of time. So yeah, it's just faster if I'm doing small quantities like that to use a manual trimmer. I've had really good success with the Lee Precision case length gauges. I've not had any issues. They've all been within spec. They all have come and trimmed the case to the length specified in all my reloading manuals, right? So that's I've had really good luck, and they're usually about $6 at Midway USA. Yeah, that's the cheapest I've found these Lee Precision case length gauges. I got a link down in the description for you in case you're interested. But anyhow, all that aside, with the 450 Bushmaster and the Starline brass that I ordered, the brass is a little too thick to fit over this case length gauge, right? It just kind of gets stuck right there. Now, I want to point out that these two pieces of brass right here are full length sized, right? So I've run them through my sizing die, and they still don't fit over the case length gauge. The reason I want to point that out is if these were not full length sized or neck sized even, then you know it's possible that the neck was out of round or something like that, and obviously then it wouldn't fit over the case length gauge. So before you're going to trim, make sure you size the case first and then trim second. So having sized these already, they still don't fit. So I got on Lee Precision's website and searched through their knowledge base, and they've got a couple articles about this very specific problem. And so doing some research basically said, you know, if the case that you're going to load is a little bit thicker than normal, then yeah, you might have some problems, but you know, you can do a couple things. You can either expand the case neck a little bit more that'll fit over. Second option was obviously you can send it back to Lee and they'll fix it for you. Just send them a case with the case length gauge, and they'll make it work for you. Third option though is to take some sandpaper or some emery cloth. They specifically say emery cloth on their website. I sent them an email and said, hey, I don't have emery cloth. You know, it's going to cost me $14 to buy some because I got to buy a big old roll of it. And I've got some sandpaper though. Will that work? And they said, yep, you can use sandpaper, use emery cloth as long as it's a fine grit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some sandpaper here. I got some 800 grit sandpaper, and we're going to file down this case length gauge and make it fit the piece of brass. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the case length gauge from the cutter. So it's probably going to be on there real tight. Just get a pair of pliers and should be able just to break it loose, and then you can remove it by hand. All right. So next thing we want to do is we want to put this into the drill. I'm going to put it in backwards. That way I've got a little bit more space here. If I put it in with the threads, obviously that shoulder, the part that I want to file down is going to be up against the chuck of the drill. So I'm just going to put it in backwards here. There we go. And then that way I can just spin spin the case length gauge inside the drill and hold the sandpaper up next to it. Next, I'm just going to cut a thin piece of paper, sandpaper. Doesn't have to be perfect, but obviously I don't need that whole big piece. And so I'm just going to hold this up against the case length gauge, just kind of like so. And I'm just going to spin that. I want to be careful though not to touch the threaded part with the sandpaper, because obviously I don't want to alter that piece of it. And here we go. All right, so there we have it, right? It just takes a little bit of work. Again, the key is make sure you're checking it. You're going little bits at a time. You don't want to take off too much. You want to make it so it just fits inside, and that's it. I mean, right? I could have probably used a heavier grit or coarser grit, rather sandpaper. 800 is just what I had laying around, so that's what I grabbed. But really anything 320 or finer should do the trick. But you know, obviously the finer the grit sandpaper, the more control you'll have over how much surface you take off of the case length gauge. But anyhow, guys, I honestly, well, first off, I hope you never have this problem, but if you do, I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, please click the subscribe button down below. Until next time, stay safe and happy shooting.